The nation of Hungary is standing up to the International Criminal Court. It withdrew its membership in the ICC to protest an arrest warrant against Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu.
The Prime Minister arrived in Hungary today for a diplomatic visit. It comes at the same time he's promising a major change in the war in Gaza. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu landed in Budapest Thursday for an official 4-day visit to Hungary. It's Netanyahu's first visit to Europe since the International Criminal Court, the ICC, issued an arrest warrant in November 2024 for war crimes in Gaza. Immediately after that decision, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban extended an invitation to Netanyahu and criticized the ICC's move as shameful and absurd. Shortly after Netanyahu's arrival today, Hungary announced it's pulling out from the ICC.
You've just taken a bold and principled position on the ICC, and I thank you, Viktor. This is not only important for us, it's important for all democracies.
Before his departure, Netanyahu declared Israel has switched gears in its fight against Hamas.
We are now dividing the strip and increasing the pressure step by step so that they will give us our hostages. And as long as they do not give them to us, the pressure will increase until they do. We're determined to achieve the objectives of the war, and we're acting relentlessly and with a clear line and a clear mission. And with God's help and that of our heroic soldiers, we will also achieve them.
The IDF is closing in on controlling 30% of Gaza, and Israel is moving to create large buffer zones separating the two. Israel's defense minister now says Israeli troops are out to, quote, capture extensive territory that will be added to the state of Israel's security areas. Netanyahu believes this is the best way to free the remaining hostages since Hamas has rejected yet another ceasefire proposal from Israel. The Israeli deal would see 11 hostages freed, but Hamas is only offering 4. On another diplomatic front, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee is one step closer to becoming America's ambassador to Israel. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted Wednesday to advance his nomination to the full Senate for a confirmation vote. Hamas has released a corrected list of Gazans killed in the war, which shows that 72% of the fatalities are men between the ages of 13 and 55, a category that aligns with Hamas combatants. Fact checkers have for months been saying Hamas's estimates of Gazans killed in the war are inflated, and its claims that 70% of the casualties are women and children is false. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, Yakil Leiter is Israel's ambassador to the United States. He joins us now from our bureau in Washington, D.C. for more on this story and for more on Israel and the Middle East. Ambassador, it's a great honor to have you with us today.
Good morning, Gordon. It's great to be with you. I prefer to be in Virginia Beach, but I'll have to settle for Washington this morning.
Well, maybe next time you can come down, and we'd love to host you here at Regent University to talk to the students. I think it would be a great thing.
I'd love to do that.
Let's talk about Hungary and the stand against the International Criminal Court. Do you think other European nations will follow suit?
Well, European nations indeed, but not only. I think it's really imperative for all people bearing a good conscience, a moral conscience, to pull out of the ICC. They've become a kangaroo court and the biggest purveyors of anti-Semitism in the world. You can't put the stain of Cain on the forehead of the Prime Minister of Israel and then expect anti-Semitism not to soar around the world. And that's what's happening because of the ICC and the ICJ. We have to stop this nonsense of kangaroo courts branding Israel, an apartheid or genocide state. We have done everything in our power to limit the casualties in Gaza. The people responsible for the deaths in Gaza are the Hamas. And they're the people that we're fighting, the terrorists we're fighting. We're fighting those terrorists on behalf not only of ourselves, but on behalf of every moderate in the Middle East and, frankly, on behalf of humanity.
How did the ICC get to this position? Because, I think it's lost on the world stage and in the conversation that the chief prosecutor, he's British, but his parents are from Pakistan. He's Muslim. And then the Chief Justice, who was part of that conviction, He also is Muslim. He's now in the government in Lebanon. Why doesn't everybody recognize that it was rigged from the beginning?
Well, it's also been released that the chief prosecutor is nothing less than a sexual predator. And it's quite possible that he tried to deflect attention from his own issues with the law and directed it towards Israel, which is a common step that anti-Semites use, deflect onto the Jews. But we won't let it stand. We're going to persevere. Hungary is the first country. I think there are going to be other countries to follow. And the President Trump has set the precedent for all of this with his executive order, actually applying sanctions to the chief prosecutor of the ICC. In a few weeks, that executive order is going to be expanded, I understand, from the White House to include anybody having dealings with the ICC, anybody in the ICC, and anybody dealing with the ICC. So I think the president has taken the lead on this. Viktor Orban of Hungary has followed through, and I think we're going to see other countries follow through as well in the next couple of days.
Let's turn our attention to Gaza, the hostage negotiation, the ongoing war. What's Israel's long-term strategy?
Well, first of all, we have a short-term strategy, and that's getting the hostages out. I mean, this is just a really mind-boggling situation. We're in the 21st century, and this isn't a bank robbery that's gone wrong and hostages have been taken. This is a group of terrorists supported by Iran that took hostages, keeping them underground in dungeons for the sake of exacting terror upon our civilians, releasing their prisoners who are guilty in many cases of killing innocent people. So we first have to do everything we possibly can to have our hostages released by these terrorists. We're applying maximum military pressure right now. We've supported the efforts, really the superhuman efforts of Steve Witkoff, the president's personal envoy to the Middle East, negotiating through Qatar and Egypt with the Hamas to get our hostages out. So that's primary. Long term is to ensure that Gaza will never again become a Hamastan, an Iranian base to launch missiles and carry out terror attacks against our civilians.
This is a very personal story with you. You lost your son Moshe, and it's an incredible story. I think the whole world needs to know. Here, he had spent 15 years in Special Forces. He had witnessed what doctors were doing to save lives on a special mission, and so he decided to go into medical school. The first day of his residency was supposed to be October 8th, and October 7th obviously interfered with that, and he led the attack. He was on the front lines leading the attack, and he lost his life. And so, may his memory be a blessing. What memory do you want the world to have of your son?
He was just a great human being. As you said, after spending 15 years in special ops and carrying out operations that are still classified, he was chosen to lead the division into Gaza on the first day of the war. And he said to his brother there in the picture, who was one of his soldiers, he said, listen, we may be afraid of war, but let's get in there and bring our hostages home. He was someone who loved people, loved life. I could see him tomorrow leading negotiations with our neighbors to enter into an era of normalization and peace. He was that kind of person who could lead battle, but also lead the battle for peace. He was just a beautiful human being, the oldest of my 8 children, and the father of 6. He left me 6 beautiful orphans, and many, many fond memories. But I know that he knew what he was fighting for, and that's for humanity, really, for the Jewish people, the Jewish state, for democracy in the Middle East, and for civility between nations.
You spoke very eloquently at a Washington, D.C. synagogue about the importance of the 10 Commandments, that as those commandments were being read in synagogues around the world, how important it was to continue to proclaim that message, that mission that the Jewish people have been on for now 3 millennia. How important is it to stand strong for the message that God gave all humanity in these turbulent times?
Well, I did actually go into a synagogue on the day 500 of the taking of the hostages for a ceremony, and I had a few words prepared to deliver, but when I walked in and saw the huge edifice of the 10 Commandments in back of me, I was inspired. And I talked about the commandments not to murder and not to steal, which really, according to rabbinic commentary, means not to take hostages. And I think that in houses of worship all over the world, people are coming together to pray, to connect with the God of creation and the God of history, and pray that this murder, this hostage taking, this purveying of death and destruction by a mob, really, that's taken power in Tehran in pursuit of nuclear power, so all of this terrorism could take place under a nuclear umbrella, comes to an end. I had the occasion just last week of hosting an iftar dinner. I was surrounded by imams, Shia and Sunni imams, and a number of church leaders. And I told the story of my son Moshe, and then I asked that we pray together, the children of Abraham. And we faced Jerusalem. We prayed together for the release of the hostages and for victory in this war against evil. It's so important that we come together in defining the fact that there is such a thing as objective evil, there is such a thing as objective good, and we have to pursue that good.
Well, you're talking now to an audience of Christians who very obviously and very openly support Israel. What should we be doing right now, practically, spiritually, politically? What can we be doing right now to support Israel?
You know, Gordon, I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm remembering your father Pat's sermons and deliveries on the 700 Club for many, many years. I used to see him around the world, turn on the television and see his broadcasts. We need to pray. We need first to connect to something above ourselves, beyond ourselves. And we believe that praying can change reality. That's the first thing we need to continue to do. But also, I would say to my Christian brothers and sisters, visit Israel today. You know, the Prime Minister Netanyahu always says that our Christian brothers don't need to buy a Torah book in the bookshop. They just take the Bible with them and walk through the lands of Shiloh and Bethlehem and Beit El and Jerusalem. And they open up the Torah book that is 3 millennia old, and can follow the stories of the Bible and imbibe themselves with the spirit of the highland and heartland of the land of Israel. So, you know, you're recognizing the fact that the Jewish people have come home to the land of Israel after 2,000 years in fulfillment of the prophecies of Isaiah, of Samuel, and we're walking once again in their footsteps. So I say to my brothers and sisters, come. Thank you so much for your support. Continue to pray, continue to come. We continue to embrace you. One last word of support for my distinguished friend and colleague, Mike Huckabee, soon to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel, who brings great pride to Israel, to the United States, and to really friends of human destiny, a human destiny of good and kindness and love.
Well, it's wonderful to see the people that wrote that book, that wrote the Bible, are back in the land of the Bible. And that's wonderful to see. And Ambassador, our prayers are with you. May you be strong in the day of adversity. And you obviously are. It's wonderful being with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gordon. Good to be with you. All the best to you and your viewers.
Thank you.